Let's understand Git and GitHub. Now, this topic is not at all needed for a product manager. You will not be working on Git or GitHub most of the time. I'll say 99% of the time. But your developers will be working on Git and GitHub almost all the time. There is no professional developer out there in the market right now who would not be using Git. Okay. So let's understand Git and GitHub for that reason, so that you know exactly what your developers are talking about and how you can leverage the most of it. So this is a very good video which explains what is Git and GitHub, but let me make it dead simple for you. Effectively, what is a code base? What is a essentially a set of uh, what is a code? It's just a bunch of files and folders, right? It's just a bunch of files and folders written in a certain programming language. That's it. It's essentially text files, nothing else. Now, as the code, imagine day zero when there was nothing written. The developer had written no code whatsoever. Day one, he wrote some code. Day two, he wrote some other code. Day three, realized what he wrote on day one was pretty bad. So he updated it and so on and so forth. And day seventh, he realized actually day two was good. The concept was good. The approach was not so good and so on. So he wants to go back. And this is where you need a version control system. You need a way to go back and forth in history so that you can track what have you done, and in case you take a wrong uh, turn in the future, you take a wrong turn, that is you took a wrong approach towards certain problem, all is not lost. You can just go back in time, just like Google Docs has a version control, right, where you can easily see the previous version of the document and you can just go back if the document has gone bad in formatting or something. Similarly, code bases can also go back and forth in time. Okay, that is all about version controlling. That is all Git and GitHub does. Okay, so it's a version controlling system. It is used to manage project files, that is the code files, and it keeps a track of entire history of things, what changes you were made, right down to the comma. It's not just which files were changed. It exactly tracks what comma, what sentence, what word, what was changed in what files and how many files. Okay, it's a beautifully complicated system. I'll put it that way. Okay, and it's extremely helpful developers who will start by building very basic versions, and then they will start building more and more complicated versions. And as you start building new and new versions, new and new features, obviously certain features will break the entire code. And that is why having an entire history of your what have you done in the past becomes all the more important. So uh, Git was created by the same guy uh, who has designed Linux, which is Linus Torvalds. So Linus designed Git, and there's a very popular video on YouTube where he introduces um right. So Linus Torvalds on Git, and he explains what is Git all about, etc., etc. It's a fantastically geeky and nerdy talk. So if you have time, definitely watch it. So it Git also allows, apart from helping the developers uh, save their head and save their neck in times when they have broken the code. It also helps in collaboration. So the reason why Linux built Git was very simple. Linux is a open source software, right? Open source software. So there are plenty of developers in different time zones working at their own paces, at their own times, and they would want to commit back. They would like to give back to the central code base, which is Linux itself. And as you can imagine, it's a huge nightmare that a random person who I don't even know has sent me a code base, has sent me an update to my program. Now I don't know whether should I accept it, should I not accept it, and if I accept it, what all changes did I have to make in so many files. So Linus ultimately chose to design this Git so that he can collaborate and he can also at the same time take care of the entire code base. If something goes wrong, he can go back and he can fix whatever went bad. Okay. So Git works in two fashions. It helps in collaboration between developers, and two, it helps in saving the neck of the developers. Okay. And what is GitHub? Think of GitHub as a social networking site for developers. Think of it as LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever social networking you like. It is that for developers. Instead of images, instead of profile, you will be uploading code bases, right? So developers like to show off what they have built, right? They like to show off what they have built, and for that reason, or they would like to give back to the society because they want to be seen as somebody who can build, who can write code which gets accepted in very large code bases, very complicated code bases, right? And that is the reason GitHub has become very, very popular. Let me give you a quick uh, view of GitHub. If you go to GitHub and you go to click on explore, you will see pretty much like an app store kind of a view. You can see the different code bases. See, these are the repositories. I'll explain what is repositories in just a bit, but in a nutshell, repositories is basically code bases. Deep learning 500 questions written in Chinese, 33 JS concepts. These are the most trending repositories right now, and you can see this funky little uh, inverted Y symbol and star. So star, you can imagine somebody has liked it so much it has starred, it has been starred 6.7k times. While 595, this symbol stands for fork. That is, forking is just like on a road you'll find a fork in the road. That is, there's another road, there's another path that is created. Similarly, in Git or in GitHub, forking is basically you took a code base and you created a clone of it, you created a copy of it from that point. Okay, so if today I fork this, what it means is from today onwards I've created a clone. Okay, now tomorrow if this Leonard updates the code base, I will not have it immediately available in my code base unless and until I pull the code base from Leonard. Okay, so that is how it works. So pull, push, forking, all of this works in Git and GitHub. Okay, now you can choose to obviously change the date range, and over the entire month I can just check which ones are performing the best. So Leonard definitely has done something fantastic because it is still ranking very, very high. And Microsoft launched this MS-DOS code base, and this is also ranking very, very high in the past entire month. 30 seconds of code, this also is performing really well. And you can see the popular topics over so much of time. What are the popular marketplace apps, the events, etc., etc. So you can see it's a pretty much a social networking site for geeky nerdy developers, right? And why do you need GitHub? Essentially, you need a GitHub because when you're collaborating between developers, you need a place, you need a cloud server where you can simply upload the code base, which the other developer can actually use, right? So imagine you are a team of 5 developers, and a couple of new developers get added. Now, how will this new developers start working on the existing code base? They will connect to the GitHub, they will get access to the central code base, that access will have to be provided by the previous developers. He connects to GitHub, gets access to this particular code base of the company, of your company, and then pulls the code base down to his local machine, that is local desktop, his local laptop, and starts coding. Whenever he's done, he feels that he has developed something meaningful, he will push that code to GitHub. Okay, he'll push the code to the GitHub, and it will stay there as a branch or uh, as a version of the actual code base. Now, let's say some senior is responsible for reviewing anything new before actually making it live. So that senior will look at the code base that this new developer has sent up, check out whether it is good or not, whether it is sufficient, whether it meets the standards or not. If it meets the standards, that the new branch, the new version this new developer created will be merged into the original one, and that's how all the developers will always have the same code base, despite being separated in different machines as well as in different time zones or wherever they are. right? So in simple terms, GitHub is a hosting service for Git repositories. Okay, Git repositories, just to reinforce, Git repositories are nothing uh, but a historical log of all the changes that you have done in the code, and along with the code itself. Okay, so code along with the code itself. So what are some of the most important terminology? There are a lot of terminologies in Git, but as a product manager, you just need to bother about repositories, which is, it will repositories are the folders in which your code is maintained. Okay, and all the files within that folder will be tracked by Git for any changes, whether it is a name change, whether it's a whether you have moved the file from one folder to another folder, whether you have changed one comma, anything, Git will track it. Branch is an independent line of development. Okay, you can think of it as similar to a new directory or new version. So for example, if you were the developer, or when you, let's say you're writing a document, and you get to a point where you realize that the document can go in two ways. You're writing a story and the document can actually go to complete two ways. And what we did was, we essentially created two copies of the original document, right? And now you end up completing the remaining stories in two different ways that you wanted to. And you realize that one of the stories is actually bad, one of the stories is actually good. So you trash the bad one and you keep the good one, right? That is the whole purpose of branch. So it helps the developers in avoiding, or in keeping things sane, that if something goes bad, he doesn't have to completely redo everything. He can simply trash something that is not working. A fork is a personal copy of another person's repository, right? I just gave you an example. Forking is basically, you take a particular code base and you just forked it, which basically means you have copied it at the moment, in the moment, uh, and it resides with you and you can do whatever you want to. Clone is an exact copy of your repository that lives on your computer instead of server, right? You have just cloned the repository from GitHub and you kept it on your server, on your machine, I'm sorry, on your machine. What is committing? Basically, you have committed, you have made some changes and you have committed to it. You have committed that code change to the original code base, right? So it's a set of one or more changes to a file. So everything you save, these changes are assigned an ID, and this ID helps to track the changes. That is committing. That is, you're committing to this change, that this is what I'm good with. This is what is going to happen. Okay. And what is master? Master is the name of one of the branches. Okay. Master is the default development branch. Master could be renamed in any fashion, but nowadays it's a best practice to just don't to not to rename it. The default development branch is called master, and just keep it that way. So whenever you set up a new code base and you install Git in it, let's not get into how to install Git and stuff, but if you install Git in it, the default branch that will be created will be master. What is a branch? It's similar to a directory. Once again, it's similar to a directory. It's just one of the versions of the code base right now. And as you develop, you'll create multiple branches. Okay, basically you want to create alternate realities so that you just want to be away from any kind of trouble. If something goes wrong, you can just kill that alternate reality and you can come back to the original file, right? So once again, you or the developer will be working on this local machines. You will have Git installed in your code bases folder, and this Git will interact with GitHub, which is a cloud based system. Okay, think of a Dropbox, think of a Google Drive, and this Git will keep everything on to GitHub and will keep syncing back from GitHub. As a developer, you can control when you want to pull or when you want to push. So this pulling is basically pulling from GitHub and pushing to GitHub. So when you're done with whatever you were assigned to, you can push the code base to GitHub, which other people can get notified that something new has come to the GitHub, to the original code base, and they can choose to pull it right away or they can choose to pull it later. Okay, this is how it works. So how do you connect to GitHub with SSH? So you need to understand SSH, which I have already hyperlinked here. That what is SSH? It's basically a secure way to connect with a server. Okay. So instead of using usernames and passwords, you can simply use a SSH key. An SSH key is basically a private and public key. A private key will be with you, while the public key will be on the server which you are trying to connect with. And this public and private key are super secure. uh, and you should basically keep the private key very, very secure, and it allows you to connect with your server. Okay. So you'll generate that SSH key and you will add it to your GitHub account, and then you will be able to access the GitHub via SSH. It's rather very simple, right? How do you generate SSH key? You can open git bash, or you can just open a terminal. These are some of the commands that you can use to create SSH keygen -t RSA. RSA stands for the encryption technology. -B 4096. Don't bother too much about this. You typically will connect your email ID with the SSH key, and this will create a pair of SSH keys, and you'll get with the email as the label. Okay, this helps in keeping a track of who generated the key. You'll get a notification like this, generating public-private RSA key pair. Once it is done, you'll get a success message. You'll be asked which file name do you want to store the key in. Okay, you can just accept the default file key, or you can change the file key's name. Right, the file key name is id_rsa. You can choose to change that as well. Okay, then you'll be asked to enter secure passphrase. You can choose to keep one, or you can choose to avoid it, and this will help in generating the SSH key. Once this is done, you can simply use SSH add, and you can add the id_rsa, and you are done. Okay. Next is, you can simply copy the SSH key to a clipboard. You can use clip, or you can use anything else. Then you can go to your GitHub account, select your personal profile photo, and then click on settings. And in the settings sidebar, you will find SSH and GPG keys. Just add the SSH key and you're pretty much done. So it might sound complicated for the first time, but it's not that difficult. Okay, generating SSH key is something that you need to get very comfortable with. Okay, right. And here's is a very quick example of how do you connect your GitHub account. Okay, how do you create an SSH key and how do you connect with the GitHub? Okay, very simple. So Git is a version control system, and GitHub is a cloud storage where you can upload your code base, and you can collaborate with your other developers. As a product manager, you might need GitHub because GitHub will have a lot of, as I can show you right now. For example, let me just pick this one. So GitHub will show all the entire code base. You can see the code base here, which is just has package.json, index.js, readme, and some stuff. It has 141 commits. So 141 latest commit has happened. There's only one branch. Okay, you can see the commit log also. That was initial commit. You can see the branch name, which is master only. There's nothing else. Are there any tags? There's no tags to show. Okay. And you can see Leonardo has merged the pull request. So number 52 from Tiago. So Tiago sent a pull request that, hey, this is an update that I have created, and it will be great if you can just add this up. Leonardo reviewed it and liked it, and so he has merged the pull request to the original code, which he did just 2 hours back. So if you're the product manager, you can easily observe what is happening when, right? See, you can see this merge pull request. And if I just click on this highlighted thing, number 52, I can actually see exactly what got committed, right? Translation of readme.md. MD stands for markdown. It's a sort of a format for Portuguese. So this guy, Tiago, actually did a Portuguese conversion or translation of readme, and that was pulled and merged into the original commit. See, Leonardo merged one commit into Leonardo MSO uh, colon master stands for branch from Tiago Boeing colon add link. Now Tiago Boeing is the username of this Tiago user, and add hyphen link is the branch name of this person's uh, repository. Okay, there's so many contributors. Now if I just jump in, see, these are all the concepts that every JS learner should know. It's actually a pretty good one, huh? I would check it out later. Anyway, if I just jump in index.js, this is all there is. The repository was created with the intention of helping developers. Just a bunch of README, nothing else, right? It has a history. So if I just click on history, I see that Leonardo has just committed 13 days back. So there's not much to see. Let me just try to find some file which has a lot of history. Let's see if I don't know, README has something. Readme.md history. Yeah, you can see that there's a lot of history in this, right? And as a product manager, you can actually you can see this, and you can create reviews, you can add issues and do whatever. You can go to issues and you can add a new issue, or you can just go back to the original issue and you can just something that has been logged, and you can see what has been mentioned. Okay, right? Let me just open some other code base which might have little more rich data. Yeah, so let's say once again, I'll just click on month, and I'm going to pick, let's say, hmm, there's no trending repository. That's strange. Okay, there is something here. Okay, let me just see. This one has 454, and trending today, I'll just change this to month. Oh, so something is being changed at GitHub's site. So I'm going to change to this week. Okay, today. Okay, today is working fine. I'll just use today. Let's just use this Facebook research, mask RCNN benchmark. So Facebook research is the repository, and it has this particular code base, right? It's a fast modular reference implementation of semantic segmentation and object detection algorithms in PyTorch. So it's an ML based. It's a repo for repository is also short changed for repo. So it's a repo for PyTorch. Okay, and we can see it's a CNN stands for convolutional neural network. Okay, and these are two different algorithms for the same CNN, and you can see it is detecting bird, it is detecting bird, a dog, which I think it's incorrect. I think it looks like a cat. There's dogs here, there's boat here. It is able to detect a lot of things, right? Now you can see the 18 commits. There are two branches. So if I just click on branch, I can see there's master branch and there's raise error branch. If I just click on raise error branch, now you can see the code base has suddenly changed, right? It was all edited, updated 2 days back. If I go back to the master, you will see the files will be slightly different, and they will have slightly different, uh, updates. Now you can clone the file, and you can clone the entire code base back down to your system, or you can just download the download the entire code to your local machine, whatever you can choose to, right? If I just let's say let me just pick something. Let me just pick let's pick this one. Okay, so in this one, I can see there are issues, there are pull requests. So if I just go to pull requests, I can see that there two pull requests has been sent. There are issues which have been logged, and as a product manager, especially if you're a product manager of a technical product like a API or something, this is the place where developers would have posted their complaints and issues, and you can actually go here and you can create your own backlog. That this which products or which issues you would like to handle. Okay, if I just click on this one, for instance, I can see again issues, 14 issues. If I just click on let's say data, I can see a bunch of files. I can click on build.py, and this gives me exact access to the code. Now from here, right, I can directly open it in a GitHub desktop, which is a application that is available for your local desktop. You can click on history, and you can exactly see what changes have been done. Actually, not much has been done. Initial release was just done 2 days back, and there's another commit that has happened 13 hours back. That's all I can see. Okay, and if I go here, so this is exactly uh, the change that has happened. See, this is the amount of changes that have happened between the times that the file was updated. Oh my, this is too much, right? And this is a unified view. There's a split view. So yeah, you do not have to like do almost all of these unless and until you are a TPM, you are a technical product manager, in which case you might have to do all of this. Okay. I can also, so this is a very fantastic, this is a very interesting time travel kind of an approach. You can browse a repository at this point in the history. So at this time when the initial release was done 2 days back, the commit was done, I can just click on this and I can just view the repository how it was 2 days back. So imagine that everything was good 2 days back. You started coding, and after a few days, you have actually landed. You have made actually the code worse, and everything is broken, and features are not working. The site is down. So what you can do is you can simply go back in time, 2 days back, 1 day back, 1 hour back, when everything was working, and you can just reset everything back to that moment. That is the power of Git and GitHub. There's another competitor of GitHub, which is called Bitbucket. It is by Atlassian. GitHub is a separate company altogether, which has been bought over by Microsoft, while Atlassian owns Bitbucket, which is exactly similar to GitHub. No difference, except GitHub at least has open or public repositories. Bitbucket is more optimized for enterprise and hence only private repositories. Okay. So that is all about Git and GitHub and Bitbucket. That's it for now. Thank you.